What is up, my liches, witches, and sexy bitches? This is going out to all those Treasure Planet nerds that we had back in the 2000s. So for those of you who do not know me, my name is Preston Hughes. I was a former musician. I am now a full-time nerd running D&D campaigns. You might know me from the Above Table stream where I play Ono the Bard, the cutest boy to hit them screens since ever. So anyways, I run D&D games. And I have a fantastic campaign that I've been running for the last 2 years, and I wanted to share the story of that campaign with other people. Unfortunately, there is a lot that I have to cover before we actually get to present day where the players are now. So, stick with me, it's going to be a bumpy ride, but here we go. Before we start the beginning of the story, we actually have to go before the beginning, back to the year 2005. Now, what happens in 2005, you ask? That was the year I was introduced to D&D. So back then I had a tight group of friends, and every lunch and in between every period, if we had time, we were hanging out in the library, whether reading comics or playing on our Game Boys or whatever we were doing at that time. Well, one of our friends suggested, hey, my older brother just gave me a bunch of these old books and it's a game. Do we want to try and play it? We were all very interested in this, so for the next following weeks, we learned how the game was supposed to be played. And I have to say something about this campaign. Yes, we were new, and yes, we didn't fully understand the rules, but it was probably my favorite D&D campaign I have ever played because of the setting. We were on these nautical ships that were sailing through the universe, not through oceans. We were going to different galaxies, going to different worlds, visiting and learning more about this universe that had so much material written in it, and we're fighting these space monsters. I became the captain of my own ship, and it was such a cool setting, and I've always looked back on this campaign and cherished those memories. Now here's the thing. I had to move away, so I informed the DM, I told the rest of our group, hey, I'm moving, and we concluded the campaign. It wasn't what our DM originally had planned, but he was happy that we got a conclusion. We played that campaign for 4 years. Afterwards, I move up to Washington, and I join a few D&D groups, but the problem is that they're not playing the same type of D&D that I was akin to. They were playing more D&D that was akin to Lord of the Rings, where you're in a fantasy realm, and you're fighting dragons and ogres and stuff. And, I mean, that's cool. It is. I did enjoy those games as well, but it wasn't the setting that I was exposed to and the setting that I've loved since the beginning of me joining the Dungeons and Dragons community. The setting that I have this absolute love for is called Spelljammer. So we're going to fast forward to the year 2022. I'm sitting on my couch, scrolling through my phone, and I get a notification from Wizards of the Coast, and they're announcing the publication of a box set of books for Spelljammer. Now, I am naturally losing my mind because Spelljammer hasn't gotten any printed material since 1993. That's almost 30 years. So, I made the decision, I'm going to run a campaign. I don't care what it is. The box set comes with a monster manual, an adventurer's guide, and a campaign setting. So, I assembled the team. I told my partner about the setting, and she absolutely loved the idea, D&D in space, riding these nautical sailing ships. She was like, that's a vibe. I'm down. We're going to play that. Then I contacted a very old friend of mine. Her name's Kat. And I said, hey, you just moved into the area, and I'm about to start running a D&D campaign that's very akin to Treasure Planet. And I know that you loved that movie. Would you like to play? And Kat was immediately hands down, we're doing this. Let's go. Lastly, I contacted my buddy Jason. And Jason's been trying to get at my table for a while, just because he doesn't have a lot of people to game with. So I said, hey, we're going to be doing a D&D campaign in space. Are you down? And he's like, can I play a dwarf? And I said, as long as his name is Red, because red dwarf puns, let's go. So now we're getting into character creation, and I'm going to explain this as if you did not know anything about D&D or Spelljammer at all. So, in character creation, you have to pick a class and a race. There's a multitude of classes and a gazillion types of races, but Spelljammer did provide some new races. Bree wanted to play a Thri-kreen. Now, Thri-kreen is a bug person that has 4 arms. And so she was like, it'd be really cool if he was a barbarian. And then he could dual wield 2-handed weapons because he has the 4 arms. And it sounded cool, it fit the setting, And I regret it now because holy crap, the amount of damage that Meek does during combat is stupid. So we have a Thri-kreen barbarian named Meek. So Kat knew that she wanted to play a rogue, but we were struggling on the race. But we eventually settled on the Astral Elf, which was also introduced into the Spelljammer books. Now, Astral Elves have been living in space for about 1 million years. They have pink skin normally, and they have white hair. Their eyes shimmer with starlight, and they have the ability to starlight step, which basically allows Astral Elves to teleport. We thought that that ability was very fitting for a rogue, so now we have a Astral Elf rogue named Ad Astra. Now, Jason had already said that he wanted to play a dwarf, but he came up with the idea of making a dwarf artificer, which I thought was ingenious for the setting, because artificers are able to make anything from explosives, cannons, to magical weapons, and I thought that that would be very fitting for Spelljammer. So now we have Radal Brunnerson, the dwarf artificer. Now within character creation, we're getting to subclasses. So subclasses, once you get to a certain level, you will gain a subclass that defines the type of character that you're going to be. Now, they're starting at level 5, so they've already gained their subclass. Bree decided that Meek would be a Path of Wild Magic Barbarian. So basically, anytime Meek decides to rage, magical abilities zoom out of his body and affect the battlefield in weird ways, which is really cool. Now, Kat had decided that Ad Astra should be an assassin rogue. Now, assassins just allow you to gain sneak attack more often, and sneak attack just allows you to double the damage that you do within combat. So, I mean, it's very useful. Now, Jason decided that Red should be a Battlesmith Artificer. Now, Battlesmith Artificers are able to make a mechanical construct in the shape of an animal called a Steel Defender. And thus, the bionically engineered assault ram, aka Bear, the cutest boy ever, was born into existence. Now, looking at the party, I realized that we only had 3 players, 3.5 if you counted Bear. So I decided to make an NPC for the party. And I also wanted to utilize some of the new material within the Spelljammer books. So I ended up making a plasmoid monk named Olus. Now, plasmoids are ooze/slime-like humanoids that have no defining features. They're just giant blobs that just have arms and legs. They also have the ability to create a pseudopod that extends out of their body to act as an extra arm or a leg, which I thought was very fitting for a monk to have an extra limb to attack with. And because we already had our subclasses, I gave him Way of the Astral Self, which is a monk subclass, which provides him the ability to make astral arms come out of his body, so he'd have more limbs to attack with. After that, characters were complete and we were ready to start playing. Then I did a little bit of prep work that wasn't specifically required, but I'm really happy that I did. So the campaign asks you to prepare a town where the party is going to be, the town will get attacked, and then you take off into the reaches of space. And it's supposed to be a big whoa factor, like, oh, the ship can fly, but the party already knows that. I've explained the premise of the campaign to them. And so I wanted to skip all of that. So instead, I put them on an area called the Radiant Citadel. Now, the Radiant Citadel is from a module called Journeys Through the Radiant Citadel. And what it is a floating city that is built on a structure called the Auroral Diamond. Now, the diamond also allows the city to teleport to different planes of existence, including space. So I wasn't really breaking any rules by having them start there. And mainly because some of the players decided to have the Wild Spacer background, which is just a background saying, hey, I'm familiar with traveling through space. It didn't really make sense for them just to start off on some random world. And there we had the basis of the campaign, where we were going to start, who we were going to be. For my next video, I will be going through the entirety of my party's playthrough through Light of Xaryxis, and then I will be doing another video of the following campaign. Thank you for watching, and remember, cast Polymorph whenever your DM doesn't want you to, turn into a giant T-Rex, and wreck his BBEG. Take it easy.